Good morning. It's Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. And this morning is one of my favourite hours of the week, where I delve into the world history. Something close to my heart, really and truly, because the world offers a lot of insights into the diversity that in it exists. And because of this particular journey of mine with the 1 hour a week relating to the history from the Big Bang Theory to now, we are in the Roman times now. We've finally reached Caesar. And, you know, he was killed in 44 BC, of course, on the 15th of March, the Ides of March. And Caesar was is one of the great historical figures, really and truly, because he managed to consolidate Roman Empire. The Roman Empire. And of course, as a result of that, the Romans were so grateful to him that he got killed. You know, history is just absolutely wonderful. The way it sort of twists and turns. And then after Caesar, there's a bit more fighting, and then we get the great period where Emperor Augusto, you know, began to rule the Roman Empire. And Roman Empire was had all the Mediterranean initially. Then Caesar went to Britain, to Great Britain, to Britannia at the time, and they also went right to the ends of almost to India. It's in all of North Africa and the Middle East. Not a bad system, and they built roads and did all sorts of things. But how can you get interested in history? It's quite simple, really. It's a combination of things. One, if you've never done it before, you can, start watching films relating to history, and then place those films in the context in which they were filmed. In other words, I've been watching Ertugrul Resurrection for quite a while now, relating to the Seljuk and Ottoman empires. And the Seljuk empires I didn't know anything about, but now I'm sort of, quite familiar with it. And then China too, the dynasties of China, and then sort of you go, history is local as well as has multiplicity of places as well. But really, all history it's at the local level, and then it moves outwards. And then when you look back, some great civilizations just disappear for some reason or other. So it's important to see these twists and turns in the history of the world in particular areas. So that's one thing so I sort of encourage people to watch. There's a good series on Rome and Caesar on Netflix, as well as other films, whatever. I'm not pushing any platform against others. All platforms are good. If the film is good, then it's a real challenge to get to it wherever it is. And the other thing too, we don't watch many movies about the Chinese dynasties, etc. It's not part of the Western sort of world. But now, as with the rise of China again, these ones here I'm sure they will be made available more and more. So we'll get to China as well. And I've been watching also the Vikings, the men from the north, very tough people, of course. Because, you need to be very tough to survive that sort of environment. Now, for some reason, Africa doesn't seem to come up much except through Egypt. And, you know, the explanation was that the Neolithic era was very successful in Africa, and therefore villages were formed, tribes, and they lived a happy life, I suppose, and that's why greater progress wasn't made. They traded with each other. I don't know how much fighting there was there, but we'll get to that as well. South America is interesting too, because, you know, there you got the Aztecs, the Mayas, and the... See? Even though I know them all, sometimes you forget. It's okay, because when you forget, then eventually it comes to you. And it's not a problem. That's the way the mind works when you try to fit too much into it. So you have to bring it up at the right time. Maybe some of the cells are sort of having problems surviving. It's 11:30, but don't forget, I'm also going to do, today I'm going to do also Before the Invasion, and of course our friend Banjo Patterson, and I will talk about Henry Lawson this morning. And finally, if I've got time, I'll go to Federazione Lucana briefly for the dinner dance that was held at the end of May, and then, of course, I might complete, if I've got time, I'll complete my filming of the Mornington Peninsula, and this time will be the end of Dramana. I've only got a few more pics from the Dramana 1, 2, and then I'll get to Point Nepean. Very interesting Point Nepean. It's a very interesting area to visit, actually. So here we go. Caesar and the Empire, Roman Britain. Okay, so we got all that under. So we left off that the Romans laid waste Carthage in North Africa. Carthage was renowned for its. It was a big commercial port, and then what's the name? You know, the fight between Hannibal and Scipione. Wasn't him, but Scipione. It eventually succeeded in the Battle of Zama. Okay, so Rome becomes the mistress of the Mediterranean. Why, I don't know why they called the master of the Mediterranean the mistress. It's like a queen, you know. It's sort of it's the mistress of the Mediterranean. I love it. You know, when you reflect on these names and the way things are tagged, interesting. Rome was now left without a strong rival, and for the next 100 years or more, her armies conquered country after country until she was the ruler of a broad band of territory completely surrounding the Mediterranean Sea. So all of the Mediterranean Sea, all the surrounding lands, they all came under the rule of Rome. And so they, you know, they were able to establish the preeminence in all countries. But the locals didn't lose their own culture. But they had to they had to live under the laws of the Romans. So you can imagine there was friction there. So you need to have a big army in order to control the local populations, and also you had to be able to manage to govern those provinces with good governors. So, you know, empires are not run like a family. You know, even though a family could rule over many generations. So let's have a look at the Roman boundaries. Welcome to Beni Locura. Good to see you coming on. The map shows the extent of the Roman. Let me show you the map of Rome. What happened to Rome? Here we are. See that? That's Rome there. And then you've got Italy, Greece, Carthage is just across in the North Africa. You've got Spain, Gaul, which is France, Germany, Asia Minor. Look at that. It extended even further out. But, okay, there's Egypt here. And so there's Cleopatra there, you know, a lot of very interesting characters coming out of this particular period of history. And so I really enjoyed it. I think it was an 8-part series on Netflix. Very gory too, but anyway, all interesting. The map shows you the extent of Roman territory at about 117 AD. 117 AD. That's before Caesar was born, basically. No, after Dominus. No, after Caesar was dead, and this is when Augustus was the emperor. After Augustus. Notice the boundaries formed by the two great rivers, the Rhine and Danube on the north and by the Sahara Desert on the south. Julius Caesar conquers Gaul. Julius Caesar was the man who conquered more land for Rome than any other single military leader. He was possibly the most famous soldier of all time. And he was also a good writer. He left detailed accounts of his battles, etc. While campaigning in Gaul, the country we now call France, he found time to sail across the Channel to punish some Celtic tribesmen who had helped the mainland king's fault against him. So the people from the north, from Britain, from England, they helped the Gauls fight Caesar. So Caesar said, I'm going to fix you up. Having won all the land between the Rhine and the Atlantic Ocean, he returned to Rome in triumph in 50 BC. Now, in 50 BC, he came back in triumph. And, of course, he sort of overstepped his mark by not, no longer sort of listening to the Senate, as they were the rulers, in fact, of all of the empire. You had to listen to the rich and powerful in the Senate in order for you to do anything, to have the laws approved, if you like. Now, Caesar murdered in 44 BC. So there's a lot more here than meets the eye when it comes to telling the story of Caesar. So a film or the series that they made on Netflix showed just all the details that go into an historical account. Caesar murdered in 44 BC. So popular was he with his troops and with the plebeians of Rome, the people. We've just elected a new leader here in Australia because we voted for him and his party. Okay, he just made it a little bit more. Half of the population still on the other side. They've got different interests, etc. But the majority have elected this particular government to govern for 3 years. In 3 years' time, we'll have another election. But in the past, if you were a dictator and you managed to remain strong, you could stay there for a long time. So popular was he with his troops and with the plebeians of Rome that he began to think of overthrowing the Republican government of his own country. So this is that's what Putin is doing in Russia. Xi Jinping in China. You've got to succeed to maintain power. You don't just, you've got to get it and then you have to be able to maintain it. That's the key. In order to make himself its king or emperor. So I says, why waste time with all this talk? I'm the boss here. I've got the army under my control. You're nothing. You just make money or whatever. You think you're important, but not really. You have to listen to me, what I want, because I know what you need. And that's all emperors and dictators, kings. Except in England, they 300 years ago, they decapitated one of the kings, and then after that, they decided, okay, we'll have a parliament. And so, the monarchy there is symbolical, but not quite. But, behind the scenes, it's a lot that happens. But it's not obvious. It's still Parliament enacts the laws, no longer the king. or the Queen. But they still have to give their stamp of approval. So if they got a cough in the morning and you want the law passed by the afternoon, you have to wait at least a week or two before the cough goes away. And that's what happens in Australia too. When both Houses of Parliament pass a law, you got to go to the Governor-General. If he's gone for a swim and he doesn't want to sign, he says, look, I've got things to do this morning. You got to wait. So if you're in a hurry, I'm making a joke out of it, but there is a bit of element of truth in what I say. It's the devil is in the details, so don't forget. Okay, in order to make himself his king or emperor, but before he could do so, he was murdered by a band of patricians. A band of patricians? His own nephew. People in his own family, literally, very close to him. Their leader, Brutus, was said to have been descended from another man of the same name, who had taken the lead centuries earlier in ridding Rome of Tarquin the Proud. There were 7 kings of Rome, and apparently Brutus, the one who predated Brutus, who killed Caesar, he got rid of a king, and that's how Rome became a republic. So, and Brutus now killed the emperor in order to return Rome to a republic, but he didn't succeed. In fact, he consolidated. Then Augustus consolidated his power and became emperor without the Senate. Or if it was there, it wasn't as important as what he said. There followed a civil war between the friends of Caesar and the patrician party, which wanted to keep the old form of government. Augustus Caesar, first Roman emperor, in the end of Caesar's nephew Octavianus, won the war, and in 27 before Christ, made himself the first Roman emperor under the title of Augustus Caesar. And that's then the 10 months of the year calendar became 12 months. And they added Julius and Augustus a bit later, but that's what happened. We've got July and August named after these two people. 2,000 years later, we name them every day. The little riverside farming village had become the capital of a vast empire, that's Rome. With a population of well over 1 million people, Rome was the largest city the world had ever seen, or was to see again until modern times. Because during the Middle Ages, the population just fell. Roman roads and buildings. Taxes from all over the empire flowed along its magnificent roads into the emperor's coffers. Much of the money was used to pay the legions which kept watch against the barbarians and the frontiers, but much too was used to beautify the city and erect aqueducts, public baths and temples, as well as such huge public buildings as the Colosseum and the Circus Maximus, the ruins of which may still be seen in Rome today. Beautiful place. I love it when I go there. When I've been there, I loved it. One large building known as the Pantheon, which was erected during the reign of Augustus, is still standing in a state of perfect preservation. I've got some pics of this magnificent place, the Pantheon. It is now used as a church in which the most famous men of Italy are buried. Behind all this splendour, there was much poverty and squalor, as in large cities. About half the population were slaves, many of whom had been taken captive in the wars. So people were expendable. Okay? I'm going to stop there. Have a drink, of course, and we're going to go now to another place called China. And we said last time, And I'm going to make this useful thing. I'm going to look into it myself so that you can enjoy getting to know China a little bit more. Here we are. Here we are. The regions of China. Let's start at the top here. That's Russia's on the other side. See that? Russia, that black line there, that's Russia. And then the other old Soviet Union republics, Kazakhstan. But this one here in China, Heilongjiang, Jilin, Liaoning, North Korea and South Korea, not part of China. You got there the Yellow Sea, Beijing, Tianjin, Hebei, Shandong, Shaanxi, Henan. This one, I can't see this one very well. Hangzhou. And then you got Shanghai there. But it's not a state, is it? I don't know. Anhui, Henan, Hubei, Hunan, Jiangxi, Zhejiang, Fujian, Taiwan, and Shanghai. Taiwan, you know, they're considered part of China, but there are disputes there. Guangdong, that's where Hong Kong is. Hong Kong part, and Macau, famous for the gambling part. South China Sea. Guangzhou, Guizhou, Guangzhou, Guizhou, Yunnan, Sichuan, Tibet, Xinjiang, you never hear of Xinjiang, Gansu, and then Inner Mongolia, external part, still, and once upon a time, the Mongolian emperor conquered most of China. There you are. So China is an important nation of the world from, you know, thousands of years ago. Okay, so that's that. Now, who was the first king? We're comparing now king here. We're comparing who was the first king who brought the Chinese tribes together. Okay, here we go. That's Hanyang. That's the Qin dynasty. Qin Shi Huang is the first emperor. There we are. Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor in Chinese history. It was not until 770 BC that the state of Qin came into existence as one of the vassal states in Western China. Later, it emerged as one of the 7 most powerful states in China, assisted by Shang Yang's reform. King Yang Zheng, 259 to 210 BC, embarked on a campaign of expansion. In the space of only 10 years, Qin vanquished the Han, Zhao, Wei, Chu, Yan and Qi tribes, states, if you like, one after another, and united the whole of China in 221 before Christ. Yin Zheng dreamed this power would be continuous and unbroken. He called himself the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, Qin Shi Huang, and his successors would be the second, third, and so forth. Therefore, he is known historically as Qin Shi Huang. Qin Shi Huang enacted a sweeping series of reforms to consolidate his power. The government was presided over by a prime minister. The Yushidafu supervised the bureaucracy, and the Taiwai was commander-in-chief of the army. Notice, bureaucracy and the army. What do we pay for with our taxes? The bureaucracy and the army. That's only a big portion of the budget goes to maintain this power, these people. And the people who work in there, they have to follow the rules, otherwise they lose their jobs. Or say in the past they would lose their heads as well. Okay, so they were appointed and removed by the emperor himself. So they were appointed and removed. So if the emperor woke up one morning and said, "You are not doing the right thing," out you go. And if it was bad enough, boom, head chopped off. Rough times they were. The whole country was divided into 36 prefectures, later increased to more than 40, which were in turn divided into counties. The magistrates of the prefectures and counties were also directly appointed and removed by the emperor. That's where the feudal system in Europe came from. In this way, the emperor could grasp the power to control all of the state. After the unification, Qin Shi Huang expanded the original Qin's laws and orders to the whole country, resulting in a system of unified law. Unified law. That's what we have too with, English law is a very good system as well, based on what's gone on before and what the government enacts at the time. So it's a bit of a mix. And all this comes from history. And we keep on improving it. And we worked out that perhaps the messiest of all of the systems, democracy, is probably the best part, because it gets rid of the people at the top after a period of time. And that gives the opposition a chance to rule and to make, to have some advantage for themselves. And then we put them out. So we can bring another lot in until power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So politicians, once you've been there for 10 years, get out. Go and do something else. In the Warring States period, linear measures differed from state to state, but not always. If you're good, stay where you are. Qin Shi Huang set fixed standards for length, volume and weight, which propelled the development of the economy. The Qin dynasty also issued a uniform currency. Round coins with a square hole in the middle were used all over China, and it promoted economic communication among different nationalities and areas, and set the pattern for the coins of later dynasties. And of course we moved on with these currencies over the various centuries. Qin Shi Huang also promulgated order to unify the characters. That's the writing. The first reform of the character resulted in the seal script, Xiao Shuang, then the official script, Lishu. A simplified version of the seal script was devised. Today's regular script, Kaishu, developed from the official script. The standardization of Chinese characters promoted communication and culture. In 213 BC, Qin Shi Huang adopted his Prime Minister Li Si's advice that all books, except for those on medicine and agriculture, should be burned in order to strengthen the regime's ideological control of the people. That's terrible. To further guard against dissent, the emperor had 460 Confucian scholars buried alive in the second year. Don't forget, Confucius came up at 500 BC. And the religious people became very powerful. So Qin Shi Huang decided, Li Si's advised, said, get rid of the Confucian priests or followers. 460 were buried alive in the second year. These two matters were called burning the books and burying the Confucian scholars. Qin Shi Huang sent General Meng Tian to defeat the Huns, Xiongnu, to curb the incessant invasions of the Hun nomads in the north. The Qin dynasty set about building the Great Wall by linking up already existing defensive walls that had been built by various states. In the south, Qin Shi Huang subdued the Yuap people and expanded the communication between different nationalities. When we say Chinese, we mean lots and lots of different tribes, at once upon a time different states. Qin Shi Huang ended the long divided situation and established the first unified multi-ethnic feudal country on Chinese soil. Qing's territory, embracing over 20 million people, reached the Pacific in the east, Longxi west of the Longshan Mountains in the west, the Great Wall in the north, and the South China Sea in the south. So that's it. Remember the name. Qin Shi Huang was the first emperor in Chinese history. What was the first name of the... what was his name? Qin Shi Huang. I have to remember. Okay, well, that's that for this part of the history. Now we're going to go before the invasion. Let's have a look, okay? Before the invasion. Let's get... Now, this one here, the children, how about the Aborigines, about the indigenous people, the First Nation people, whichever one you want. Aboriginal children had a free and happy life. The people did not own many things and there were very few dangers around. So they did not have to be trained as white children are today to look after property and avoid danger. Don't forget, I'm reading from a book from the past where, there was a distinct way of expressing themselves. Nor did they have to attend school. They learned whilst they played. It's a nomadic existence. It's in a Neolithic village type of, in a tribal area. They learned whilst they played. Adults showed them how to hunt and find food. Welcome to Giovanni Ciancia. And taught them how to behave. They learned the history of their group when older people told stories round the campfires and during the great religious ceremonies, acting out the lives of the ancestors. There were two main rules all children had to learn and obey. You had to obey, see? Obedience. Otherwise you get whacked or things, taken away from you. From their earliest days, they were taught how to behave towards all their relations, and they had to remain completely quiet and attentive during the long religious ceremonies. If you were, talking in the church, during the ceremonies, you were chastised. Many of the children games were important in teaching skills and behaviour required in adult life. A girl learned while quite young how to be a wife and mother. She took her own small digging stick when she went out looking for food with her mother. Thus she learned where to dig for edible roots and burrowing animals. But she did not see this as tiresome work. She enjoyed finding food for herself, and adults praised her when she did. She was also expected to help her mother by looking after her younger brothers and sisters. And that's it for the moment. So the children in in this tribal sort of situations, they didn't, school, writing didn't exist. Just looking for food, shelter. But if it's hot, you don't even need clothes. And in fact, I've got a couple of pictures here. See? And once upon a time, when I came to Australia, and we did, we were referring, even in Italy, referring to the Aborigines as the, as people who were very, very backwards, which wasn't really true. But when a stronger nation arrives, grazie Giovanni. Saludos, un fuerte abrazo. Grazie mille. Okay, now let's go on with this is what Henry Lawson. Henry Lawson is another Australian writer of great significance. He wrote a lot of short stories. Okay, just 1 second. I'll show you where I'm getting. There it is, Henry Lawson. And that is 1867, 1922. So he was, what, 33, 22? He died at 55. Too young. Anyway. Henry Lawson, 1867-1922, was born at Grenfell in New South Wales, where his father, a Norwegian sailor, originally Larsen, was unsuccessfully prospecting for gold. Partially deaf from the age of 9, he had little formal education and was an apprentice in Sydney when he began to write verse and short stories. His first published work was in 1887. 1867, he was just 20 years old, in the Bulletin, which then became a very famous Australian publication of the 1880s. An influential weekly which he associated for the rest of his life. His reputation as a short story writer was established with the publication of Wild Billy Boyles in 1896. So 1896, he was 30 years old. During 2 years, 1900 to 02, that he spent in England, he enjoyed the friendship and critical support of Edward Garnett and wrote some of his best stories, which were collected in Joe Wilson and His Mates in 1901. After his return to Australia, his work showed a marked decline, and the rest of his life was darkened by alcoholism, he liked his drinks, and the bitterness generated by the breakdown of his marriage. If you're an alcoholic, you probably beat his wife. Yeah. A national figure identified strongly with Australian values, he died in poverty in Sydney, where he was given a state funeral. So there you are. You need to... that's Henry Lawson. Now we're going to go to Benja Patterson. And as I said to you about Benja Patterson, he's known as Benja Patterson. Here, this is the book. A.B. Patterson, okay? So, Over the Range, this is another poem. Little bush maiden, wondering-eyed, played alone in the quick bed dry, in the small green flat on every side, walled in by the Mumbai ranges high. Tell us the tale of your lonely life. Mid the great grey forests that know no change, I never have left my home, she said. I've never been over the Mumbai range. Father and mother are both long dead, and I live with Granny in yon wee place. Where are your father and mother, we said. She puzzled a while with thoughtful face, then a light came into the shy brown eye, and she smiled, for she thought the question strange on a thing so certain. When people die, they go to the country over the range. They're not here, you're over the range. This is my world here. And what is this country like, my lass? There are blossoming trees and pretty flowers, and shining creeks where the golden grass is fresh and sweet from the summer showers. They never need work, nor want, nor weep. No troubles can come their hearts to estrange. Some summer night I shall fall asleep and wake in the country over the range. Some summer night I shall fall asleep and I'll be over the range like the parents. Child, you are wise in your simple trust, for the wisest man knows no more than you. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Our views by a range are bounded too, but we know that God hath this gift in store, that when we come to the final change, we shall meet with our loved ones gone before to the beautiful country over the range. Well done, Bernard Pole, watching as well. Welcome. We've just done Henry Lawson and Benja Patterson, two great Australian writers of the colonial times. And we also did before the invasion, talking about our indigenous people, our First Nations people. And then before that, we did China and Caesar. What a collection of things today. Now we're going to go to TomPadula's, what I normally do. But as usual, I might have problems getting back to my, getting back to my computer here. Come on, computer, be good to me, all right? Okay, just 1 second, and let's see that I can do it properly this time. And if we do, yes. I'm going to take you now to a place called Federazione Lucana, which is a club close to me, and a club formed by people from the region of Italy that I come from, La Basilicata, Lucania. But well and truly, I spent only 15 years there, and I've spent the rest of my life here in Australia, and it's almost, you know, quite a few decades now. So you can never forget the paese where you were born, but you become somebody else over time. So here we go. I started the night here because I said to Angela, you know, when you go to a dinner dance, you need someone else to accompany you. And Angela is so nice to accompany me. Here she is, and we say, what do we say? Dinner dance tonight at the Basilicata, Federazione Lucana, from Basilicata night.
Yes, it is.
And we're going to have a good time.
Hopefully.
Okay?
Yes.
All right, let's go.
Let's go.
And here, my sister and brother-in-law there with Leonardo Santamartino, the secretary. We went to school together in Italy. So, and of course I had to put myself in it. Oh, well, you know, what can you do? And this is, of course, a well set up club. And the food there, if you notice, it's got pepperoni cruschi. You know, it's a very, you know, traditional dish from celebrated in Basilicata. There it is. That's the plate, and that's pepperoni cruschi. They're called, and this is bacala, a codfish. Very nice, beautiful, and the olives, of course, good olives. I made some, so there you are. And this is, of course, us there, and more of us. And this is a whole table. The waitress said, can we take a pic of all of you? Yes. Where we are. Gives you an idea of the place. My God, how many did she take? Now, this is called, this person's name is Joe Di Giacomo, and he's the president of Lucani d'Australia. Okay, so I checked my, the glasses got the glare, so there you are, and that's his wife there. And then I interviewed him. How are we going for time? Yeah, I might play a couple of his, we had a nice chat. Here we go. Joe Di Giacomo, Presidente dei Lucani d'Australia. Welcome to TomPadulaTV.
It's good to be here. It's good to be here.
Yes, and we are in the Federazione Lucana here in Brunswick, and I think we're very honoured to have you here.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure. We're trying to get all the associations together. One of our jobs is to be able to bring every regional association to work together for the future and maintain our traditions right across Australia.
So you're talking about all of the regions?
Right across Australia. No, our region in particular. I'm responsible for the Basilicata region.
Yeah, Potenza and Matera.
All of our region.
And I know that, you know, you've done a stellar work. You're one of my people, because I actually am a teacher of Italian and French and history, and you've run language schools in Sydney.
We have. I had my own centre in Sydney.
You have your own centres. So I'm very pleased that you are here, perché noi possiamo parlare in tutte e due le lingue.
Certo.
Perfettamente bene. No?
Assolutamente sì.
E quindi è una cosa bellissima.
Bisogna continuare a promuovere anche non soltanto la nostra cultura, ma anche la nostra lingua.
Il bilinguismo è importantissimo, perché senza di quello poi l'indennità si perde.
Mantiene viva la nostra cultura.
Uno dei grandi problemi per seconda, terza e quarta generazione qui in Australia, degli oriundi italiani, figli di italiani, è che loro nelle scuole si parla inglese, si fa nel passato, fino adesso, ancora lo stesso adesso, non è possibile avere tutta la storia, la cultura italiana presente qui.
Ma è molto più complesso di questo. Il problema è che abbiamo scoperto noi dopo tanti anni, io ho portato avanti la scuola più di 20 anni, quello che abbiamo scoperto, le seconde e terze generazioni vivono in un ambiente dove all'esterno delle loro famiglie si parla inglese, quindi quando si esce da casa. A casa però purtroppo quello che accade, si parla il dialetto spesso.
E la lingua locale dei loro...
Purtroppo è la realtà, perché tutti i genitori, nonni eccetera che sono arrivati in Australia negli anni 50 conoscevano soltanto il dialetto, quindi l'italiano era là, pensavano che parlavano italiano.
Io insegno italiano
Ho capito.
dal 70 e moltissimi insegnanti italiani si intendono della grammatica, però il problema della grammatica è che poi i ragazzi di qua non studiano la grammatica anche dalla parte inglese, nell'inglese un pochettino.
È stato un problema, sì, ora sono ritornati di nuovo a farlo ancora un altro volta. Sì. Però esiste anche un altro problema purtroppo, almeno quello che abbiamo scoperto noi a Sydney. Gli insegnanti, una buona parte, sono anche loro dalla seconda generazione.
Esattamente.
E quindi il loro italiano non è necessariamente sempre perfetto. E quindi si parla, e purtroppo è la realtà. E quindi non bisogna...
So we talked about language there, and then we continued, of course, because I take them in short bursts. So we continue with Joe. Here we go. Stavamo parlando già degli insegnanti di italiano che sono nati qua e che hanno imparato l'italiano.
Insegnando l'italiano anche loro sono di seconda e terza generazione.
Ma come l'insegnante di francese in Italia, di inglese, cioè la stessa cosa,
è stato
un po' un problema mondiale.
No, è stato proprio un problema qui in Australia, che non abbiamo mai spinto gli insegnanti a fare pratica di lingua italiana mentre che insegnavano l'italiano. Quindi noi
la mia esperienza nelle scuole, mi devi scusare, è che un insegnante di italiano, a volte due insegnanti di italiano, in uno staff del corpo docente di 60 persone, certo, sono isolati,
lo so,
e non parlano in inglese, so. Quindi...
Ma infatti una delle cose che avevo proposto io anni fa, sto parlando quasi di 15 anni fa e più, che noi nel mio centro volevo fare dei corsi di italiano per gli insegnanti. Uno dei miei docenti che insegnava all'università di Insegna, no, ma ogni settimana, 2 ore a settimana, per un periodo di 10 settimane.
La mia esperienza è che l'insegnante poi è così occupato che non viene.
No, non era perché se era interessante dal punto di vista che tu utilizzavi soggetti che loro utilizzavano nelle scuole, sì, quindi diventava anche un modo di prepararsi per i loro compiti.
Mentre dalla parte mia, dalla fine degli anni, alla fine degli anni 60-70, quello che ho scoperto io è che facendo teatro, io ho fatto teatro, il teatro aiuta moltissimo,
assolutamente.
E poi ci vogliono anche quei viaggi in Italia. Ma li stanno facendo?
Sì, ma è poco, perché quello che serve per l'insegnante è poco. Quello che serve all'insegnante è praticare le cose spesso.
Esattamente.
E quindi non fare soltanto corsi, ma anche cultura, eccetera. Quindi noi avevamo creato un programma specifico che utilizzava il curriculum scolastico, ma pure di dare agli insegnanti qualcosa da prepararsi ogni volta.
Già, qui quello è a Sydney, però negli altri stati tu non puoi avere quella influenza che tu puoi avere nel tuo posto locale.
Sì, come a Melbourne, sì.
In Melbourne abbiamo sempre avuto moltissimi insegnanti, c'è la radio che è stata sempre molto occupata in queste cose, poi abbiamo il Coasic, il Globo, cioè ci sono delle istituzioni qua che guardano poi anche ai loro interessi, perché altrimenti...
Sì, ma a prescindere da questo, il problema più serio che abbiamo noi, qual è che normalmente si insegna l'italiano alle scuole elementari a un certo livello, poi quando arrivano le superiori calano. Noi abbiamo tantissimi ragazzi che fanno l'italiano all'elementare, poi quando si arriva all'anno 10°, 11° e 12°, se abbiamo una cinquantina, siamo
We're touching on some of the, not problems, but some of the observations about the teaching of Italian here in Australia. But anyway, the thing is that everyone's got, opinion, but these are actual factual things that can be done to improve situations all around. Here we go. Voglio rispondere un po' a quello che hai detto riguardo i ragazzi che a scuola non continuano, perché poi ci sono le competizioni dalle altre materie e quindi poi c'è il problema anche dell'impiego in alcune scuole si riesce a mantenere un certo livello di italiano, poi ci vuole il numero per le classi, è molto complesso la cosa a livello statale,
certo,
anche nelle scuole cattoliche.
Le lingue sono diventate un problema ora nella maggior parte dell'HSC, però quello che è importante forse da parte nostra, spingere l'idea che un'altra lingua
Importante.
Molto importante.
Ma io sto facendo proprio questo online, su Facebook.
Però il punto principale qual è? È che bisogna vedere il curriculum. Non è se tu i ragazzi devono fare le stesse cose che facevano agli E6, non lo fanno più l'italiano.
Ma poi cambiano scuola pure.
Ma a prescindere da questo, non lo fanno più. E gli insegnanti sono importanti. Se non parlano l'italiano, gli insegnanti per le scuole superiori non serve a niente. Questo è l'altro problema.
Ma l'insegnante, io insegno francese adesso, io sono stato a Parigi 3 volte nella mia vita, sì, per 3 giorni, e mi sono laureato in francese all'Università di Melbourne e adesso insegno all'Università della terza età per il desiderio di parlare il francese di nuovo, certo, e di praticarlo. Quindi è sempre un problema, però io non mi posso poi competere con un insegnante che ha abitato in Madrid, certo, non si può. Però come insegnante va bene, perché l'insegnamento generalmente è limitato, è l'individuo che poi deve apprendere la lingua.
Però bisogna creare interesse.
Ma l'interesse viene anche da loro, certo, stessi. Certo, se ce l'hanno.
È ovvio.
Esattamente. Allora, so some of the solutions there, you know, the problem that if you don't live in the country and you're learning another language, how do you achieve the fluency of a national speaker? Very difficult, very difficult. Here, the last bit.
Tu dicevi che
abbiamo fatto una bella conversazione.
Col francese e l'italiano, quindi siamo in Europa. L'importante è che continuiamo a spingere la nostra cultura europea e che qui si continui, in Australia in particolare, continuiamo a far capire meglio come la nostra cultura ha dato un contributo enorme alla crescita di questo paese.
Il multiculturalismo viene proprio da...
Assolutamente.
E quindi adesso abbiamo un primo ministro di origine italiana, ma anche irlandese, la mamma irlandese, quindi è albanese.
Albanese proprio.
Albanese, non albanese, ma albanese. Va bene. Grazie mille, grazie a te per l'opportunità che mi hai dato di parlare con te, speriamo che ci rivediamo di nuovo.
Grazie mille, ciao.
Thank you very much.
Arrivederci a tutti.
Welcome to Angela Imola. Okay, so that was an interview with the Giacomo, president of the Lucani. People come from the Basilicata region in Italy, here in Australia. There are quite a number of them in all the states, and they try to keep, a network, which is great, which is fantastic, really. And now, let me see if I remember correctly, where I have to go now. Next, where do I go next? Hold on. No, not there. Yes, there. What's the date? Okay, hold on. Let me have a look where I am. Oh, yes. No, we don't want that. Screenshots. No, we want something else. We want here, the photos. Okay, so, yes, we go down. Now we go up. 1 second. I'll get to it in a minute. Because last week I went to, if you remember, we stopped in Dromana, right, with the pictures that from my trip in on the Mornington Peninsula, and if I remember correctly, number 46, we said, yes, there it is. I've got it now, and I'll show it to you. This is the Mornington Peninsula here, about an hour and a half drive from Melbourne, and we love it here. There you are. There we are. And we'll start with the water. I showed my feet because I went for a walk. It was cold. I love it in you know, in winter times even.
I think that's what I'll do.
Even though it's cold, it doesn't matter. The music of the sea. There's more there. One of the tourists was catching the waves with her phone. And that's the walk that I took. How beautiful is that? Oh gosh. There's one person there. And then I decided, okay, I'll go for a coffee across the road to a hotel, and I bought Il Globo, and, you know, there you are. Lovely afternoon. And, of course, it was close to sunset. Look at this beautiful sunset. How's that, huh? Just attracted by the sunset near the sea. And you turn around, and the colours that the sun in the afternoon gives to everything in its path. There we are. And of course the vegetation, I'm attracted by the vegetation and the photography. That's a nice shot, actually, if I may say so. And here, I say something here. What do I say? I'm about to experience another sunset here from Cremona. I've just been to the hotel and had a cafe latte, a cappuccino, and it was quite nice. So I picked up the Globo and had a few moments to myself there, and it was lovely. And now I'm walking back, ready to go back to the Penn Country Club. There you are. And now I walked back, and there's more here. And this is another spectacular sunset. Look at that. Coming up. Beautiful. And the pier. Look at that. Oh my God. Beautiful experience, this one. This here. I feel very comfortable here in Cremona, looking at my companions. No wonder some people are going to live there. And the birds. They're enjoying the sunset like me. More of the same. I had to catch it going down when the sun goes down. There we are. I think I catch it this time. I stayed on it for quite a while because I wanted to catch the actual sun disappearing behind that line there between sky and sea. How beautiful is that? But as I always say, that, you know, taking photos near the sea, there isn't much variety really. What you see is what you get. I'm going to shoot you a little bit. Here. See that? Look. And the sun went down. Ah, yes, there it is. Almost there. Il tramonto. Well, we're coming to the end. Bye-bye, son. That's it. That's it. And the noise too. Here we are. Well, that was a good experience. Filming the sunset here in Dromara. Now, time to go. And I did go. And this another one, or still Dromara here. Now this is the next day at Point Nepean. I drove from there to Point Nepean, and there you get this. This Point Nepean was built in the early part of the 19th century to protect the people who colonised Victoria. And this is a bit of the history. Welcome to Point Nepean National Park. And that's the map that they provide. How is this, see? Gunner's Cottage, Quarantine, Observatory Point, the barracks, Eagles Point, etc. Okay? And that's the bus that I caught down, because you could walk, but it would take a couple of hours. Didn't have the time. And Gunner's Cottage here is the starting point for many visitors exploring the southern section. There you are. More information, more maps of how to get there, etc. Gunner's Cottage. Memories. Park the car. There were many people. Walter Piston Heritage Walk, Observatory Point, Fort Nepean. 3.8 kilometres. You can walk there, but I didn't have time. And that's the toilet, believe it or not. How cute is that? There are two of them, male and female, on the other side. That's one of the paths going down. And this is the bus driver. It was very nice to me. Yes. And, Andrew's a nice bloke. This is Andrew too. He's taking him down to the pier. Fantastic. We had to pay $8 to go down. And what's happening here is that the government is spending all his money and they penny pinching. Andrew should be paid a good wage by the government.
That's right.
That's my point. And it's election time, maybe they'll take it up. Maybe.
No worries. Where do you guys want to go? Do you want to go back up to the...
We're going to go back to
Oh, okay, oh, fair enough. Yeah, no worries.
Oh, here we are. Yeah, the whole drive down to Nepean. I never thought this was possible. Fantastic. This is what you get when you get the bus.
That is a national...
And how long has it been here?
It's 1870. There's all sorts of...
From 1870?
1870, they've had people down here building tunnels and things up the top, which is when you get off and you have a look.
There's a tunnel there as well.
There's tunnels and cannons and all sorts of stuff from World War I. And in 1870, they thought the Russians were going to come and invade us, so they...
The Russians?
They sent...
They might be coming now.
No, you never know.
Well, so we've got protection here at Nepean, at Point Nepean. That's not bad. Not bad at all.
And then Harold Hogg decided to have a swim and he drowned there.
And that's Sugar Beach just around the corner, no?
That's right.
Okay. Well, Harold Hogg went They've been saying hello to us, spiritually speaking.
Yes, that's it.
Oh, this is beautiful here. I didn't expect to. Oh, look at that. I didn't expect to be able to do this today.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, and also Andrew. He's a good bloke, my son too.
Yes, what does he do for a living?
He's in music, DJing,
Oh, okay.
his own studio, all that sort of thing.
Very nice.
And he's very good, with his physical maintenance. Oh, is that Sherwood Beach? No.
Yeah, that's Sherwood Beach just here. That's where the Harold Holt Memorial is, just here.
Here. Let's take a minute.
That's Harold Holt's memorial, and we'll visit that later.
We'll stop on the way back. We're going to pick you up after lunch.
I've got a history.
Have a look.
I've got a history here. 1967, I still remember it.
Yeah, I was just born. I was about 3.
I just arrived from Italy in 1963.
Wow.
So by that time, 67, I was doing the trick.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Not bad, huh?
Very good.
Well, I'm going to just here, I'll take stop there.
And that's Point Nepean there. Yeah? We go up the dub more.
And this one, what's this hill called?
This is Eagle's Nest.
Eagle's Nest.
Eagle's Nest, yeah.
Thanks, Andrew. Eagle's Nest. We are here in Eagle's Nest.
And you get all the best views will be around the
And all the best views are here. Oh my God, look at that. Oh.
It's better by the second from here.
Wow. It was worth coming here.
That's it.
My other son, Jason, gave me the tip. Says, go and visit. Dad, don't stay inside. I'm in Rosebud.
Oh,
So I thought I'd drive down today, my last day. Tomorrow I'm going back. Oh, this is it here.
That's it, Fort Pierce.
What's this called?
This is Fort Pierce. There's more tunnels here. This is all.
Oh, this is the tunnels. Yeah.
Amazing. The concrete work.
Now I noticed coming in with your car, with the car, there were some spikes coming out. When you go out, of course, the spikes go down. Is that right?
They do, yes.
Okay, thank you.
It just stops people going in the wrong way, which they used to do before they put the spikes in.
No, that's all right. It's good.
After hours, you'd have people sneaking in, so they put the spikes in so they can't do that anymore.
Right. So this is Point Nepean, huh?
This is Point
You know, I've been
Nepean,
here.
right at the top here.
I've been here since 1963, and this is the first time I've come.
Wow.
Amazing, isn't it? Before you were born, Andrew.
It was just. What month did you come here in 63? Can you remember?
On Mumba Day, 10th of March.
10th of March.
And,
The year I was born on the 9th of April, 69.
9th of April. Wow. I came here before you were born
That's it.
to Australia, and not one word of English.
Wow.
Just the numbers.
Very good.
And then within, a few years, at Melbourne Uni.
You speak English very well.
Well, thank you, I'm a teacher. A languages teacher.
Oh, there you go. And up here you got all the tunnels. You walk through the tunnels and you hear voices, and they got voice recordings. Very, very well.
You can hear voices as well. Shuttle bus.
And they're proper voices, which is even better.
Somebody's doing. Wow, this is unbelievable. Look at that.
There we go. And I'll be back in 1:45. You'll spend an hour here easy.
1 hour, for sure.
There's tunnels, and go round to the right round here because that's the quickest way.
And
well,
we'll
that's the
arrive.
easiest way.
This is
Not
Point
walking
Nepean.
upstairs. This is Point
Wow.
Nepean, yep.
Amazing.
I'll just turn the bus around and I'll let you off.
Okay. Well, thank you, Andrew. You've been an absolutely wonderful person.
No worries. There
When you come
go.
back, I look forward to keeping the conversation
We'll
going.
see if we can find Harold on the way back.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Well, that's a good point to stop. We'll continue next week to actually have a look at the fort, etc. It's already the 12:33, so I've gone over time.
Thank you very much for this morning. I've enjoyed it again. It's a wonderful, it's wonderful to have program 37 behind me. And that'll go online, of course. So if you haven't seen some of it, stay on. Next few minutes, it'll come on Facebook. Okay, ciao from Tom Padula, TomPadulaTV on YouTube and the Insegna Booksellers. Until next time.